There are moments in life when you look at yourself and realize how easily your peace can be shaken. A single message, a cold silence, a change in someone's tone, and suddenly your whole emotional world collapses. You don't want to admit it, but deep down you know. Your mind has been living in the mouths of the wrong people, and your emotions have been reacting to everything except your own voice. If that feels familiar, this video is for you. Today, we begin a journey into something most people never learn. How to become emotionally strong from the inside out. Emotional strength is not about pretending you don't care. It's not about becoming numb or acting like nothing gets to you. That's not strength. That's fear wearing a mask. Real emotional strength feels different. It's a quiet confidence, a grounded presence, a calm awareness that stays even when life tries to shake you. It's knowing that no matter what someone else does or says, your identity remains untouched. It's the ability to hurt without collapsing, to feel deeply without losing yourself, and to stand alone without feeling empty. Maybe you spent years molding yourself just to be accepted, lowering your voice so others could speak louder, shrinking so someone else could shine, sacrificing your own peace just to keep a person who did not know how to keep you. Maybe you learned to see your worth through the approval of people who never truly understood your heart. When they pulled away, you believed the problem was you. When they stayed silent, you created stories that tore your confidence apart. And without noticing, you built a life where other people had the final say on your emotional stability. But here's the truth you were never taught. Emotional strength isn't inherited, it's built. And it begins the moment you stop handing your power to people who don't know how to carry it. Your strength grows when you stop letting external chaos decide your internal state. You don't become strong by controlling everything around you. You become strong by mastering what happens within you. That's why today matters. Because emotional resilience is not born in comfort. It rises when you confront the patterns that have been breaking you. The pattern of always overgiving. The pattern of begging for clarity. The pattern of staying where you're not valued. The pattern of believing that love must hurt to be real. These patterns are not destiny, they are habits, and habits can be unlearned. Ancient Stoic philosophy understood something most people still don't grasp. Life will never stop testing you, but your interpretation of those tests decides everything. The Stoics believe that the power is never in the event. The power is in your response. You cannot control who leaves, who disappoints you, who fails you, who misunderstands you. But you can control the meaning you attach to it. And meaning is what determines whether you rise or break. Maybe right now you feel drained, lost, or emotionally dependent on someone who treats you as an afterthought. But hear this, emotional strength does not come from being unbreakable. It comes from rebuilding yourself every time you shatter. Strength is choosing yourself even when it feels unfamiliar. Strength is letting go of what hurts you, even when part of you wants to hold on. Strength is allowing endings to guide you toward beginnings that actually honor the person you're becoming. Throughout this video, we will walk through principles that can transform your emotional life. Not theories, not cliches, but practical shifts. How to detach without becoming cold, how to protect your peace without pushing people away, how to self-regulate instead of reacting impulsively, how to rebuild self-respect after being overlooked, and how to stop giving emotional access to people who have not earned it. This is not about becoming harsh, it's about becoming whole. But before we dive into the next steps, I want to invite you to take a simple but powerful action. If anything in these words has spoken to what you're living right now, if you're tired of letting others dictate how you feel, then let this moment mark the beginning of your turning point. Like this video to support this message. Subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming parts of this journey. And comment below. What part of your emotional life are you ready to reclaim from today? Your comment is not just engagement, it's a declaration of strength. Emotional strength doesn't begin with the world around you. It begins with the world inside you. Long before someone hurts you, long before a relationship ends, long before a disappointment knocks the air out of your chest, something much quieter happens. Your mind starts telling stories. And those stories shape everything. Most people spend their entire lives fighting events, situations, and people, without realizing that the real battlefield is internal. Your emotions respond to your interpretation long before they respond to reality. The truth is harsh but liberating. The way you talk to yourself affects you far more than anything anyone else has ever said. A single thought can create peace, and another can create anxiety, even when nothing outside of you has changed. That's why two people can live the same experience and walk away with completely different emotional scars. The event was the same, the meaning was different. Somewhere along your journey, you absorbed beliefs that were never meant to live inside you. Maybe someone made you feel small. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love felt conditional. Maybe you were taught to suppress your needs so others could be comfortable. Without noticing, you began repeating these ideas until they felt like truth. And slowly, your inner voice turned into your harshest enemy. But emotional strength begins when you stop believing every thought that passes through your mind. Thoughts are not truths. They are echoes, habits, fears, memories, interpretations, and they can be rewritten. You are allowed to question them. You are allowed to challenge the narrative. You are allowed to change the tone of your own inner voice. And once you start doing that, your entire emotional landscape begins to shift. Many people believe emotional strength comes from suppressing emotions. They try to silence fear, hide sadness, or outrun their insecurities. But suppression is just another form of weakness. Strength is not avoiding your emotions, it's understanding them without letting them take control. It's the ability to say, I feel this, but this feeling is not who I am. When you create that distance, even a small one, your reactions become less chaotic, your decisions become clearer, and your self-respect grows. Emotional strength also means understanding that pain is not a message about your worth, it's a message about your wounds. When someone ignores you, your mind may jump to conclusions. I'm not important. I'm replaceable. I'm not enough. But these are interpretations shaped by old fears. Someone else's behavior is not an X-ray of your value. Most of the time, it's a reflection of their own limitations. You suffer not because of what they did, but because of what you told yourself it meant. The shift begins when you stop answering every emotion with self-blame. Instead of thinking, something is wrong with me, you start asking, what old belief did this trigger in me? Why does this hurt more than it should? What story am I repeating that I need to rewrite? These questions open space. And it's in that space that real strength grows. As you deepen this awareness, you begin to notice patterns. You realize that you've been living on autopilot, reacting emotionally without understanding why. You see that many of your fears are inherited. Many of your insecurities were learned. Many of your emotional wounds didn't come from the present. They came from a past you never fully processed. Emotional strength requires revisiting these roots, not to relive pain, but to untangle it. This inner work can feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind is used to operating in familiar ways, even when those ways hurt you. But discomfort is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're finally stepping out of old emotional patterns that kept you trapped. Growth rarely feels natural in the beginning. But with time, what once felt painful starts to feel freeing. And as your internal world begins to reorganize, something subtle but powerful changes. Your reactions slow down. You stop exploding at small things. You stop personalizing every disappointment. You stop believing that someone else's silence is evidence of your inadequacy. Instead, you respond with clarity. You pause. You breathe. You choose your next step instead of surrendering to impulse. That pause, that moment of conscious presence, is one of the strongest things a human being can cultivate. You also begin to realize that you don't need to win every argument, fix every misunderstanding, or control every outcome. Emotional strength teaches you that peace is more valuable than proving a point. That protecting your mental clarity matters more than satisfying your ego. That walking away can be a strategy, not a surrender. When you understand this, your energy stops leaking into battles that don't deserve you. And slowly, your emotional world becomes less reactive and more intentional. You no longer rush to decode every message, analyze every silence, or chase answers that won't change anything. You begin to understand that some things don't need closure, they need distance. Some people don't need explanations, they need boundaries. Some emotions don't need to be eradicated, they need to be understood. Emotional strength is a combination of awareness and discipline. Awareness to see what triggers you. Discipline to not let it dominate you. Awareness to understand your patterns. Discipline to break them. Awareness to notice your old wounds. discipline to stop offering them as open doors for others to walk through. As this inner mastery expands, you start to experience something rare: emotional independence. Not the cold, distant kind, but the balanced kind. The kind that allows you to love deeply without losing yourself, care genuinely without being consumed, connect honestly without collapsing when things shift. This independence becomes a foundation, and it's one that no one else can take from you. Your mind becomes a safer place. Your emotions become less chaotic. Your value becomes something you feel, not something you negotiate. And your peace becomes something you protect, not something you hope someone else preserves. One of the most misunderstood elements of emotional strength is detachment. People hear the word and think it means indifference, coldness, no longer caring about anyone or anything. But true detachment is something completely different. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of dependency. It is the ability to stay connected without collapsing, to love without dissolving into someone else, to care deeply without surrendering your identity as a trade. Detachment is what happens when you stop giving people the power to define your emotional temperature. It is the shift from "I need you" to "I choose you." And that single shift can change your entire emotional life. When you need someone to feel whole, you stop seeing the relationship clearly. You cling, you fear, you tolerate what hurts, and you lose your ability to walk away when you should. But when you choose someone from a place of wholeness, your connections become healthier, lighter, more honest, because they're not built on fear. The truth is that most emotional suffering comes from attachment rooted in insecurity, not attachment rooted in love. Insecure attachment whispers, "Don't leave me or I'll fall apart." Healthy attachment says, "I want you here, but I remain myself whether you stay or not." You can feel the difference in your body. One feels like tension and breathlessness. The other feels like calm clarity. Detachment does not shrink your capacity to love, it protects it. Without detachment, love turns into anxiety. With detachment, love becomes a choice instead of a survival mechanism. When you learn this, relationships stop feeling like emotional roller coasters and start feeling like partnerships between two stable individuals. You stop trying to rescue people. You stop trying to fix what is not yours to fix. You stop confusing chaos with passion. And here is the most important truth. Detachment is not something you force. It is something you discover when you stop abandoning yourself. You detach the moment you realize you can survive what you once thought would destroy you. You detach the moment you stop trying to convince someone to see your worth. You detach the moment you choose peace over proving yourself. Detachment is born from self-respect. Nothing makes you let go faster than realizing your inner world deserves better. This is why people who finally heal don't become cold, they become clear. They aren't distant, they're discerning. They don't love less, they love smarter. And that clarity, that discernment, that new way of loving is what protects your heart from the kind of wounds you once carried for years. You stop confusing someone's inconsistency with some hidden meaning. You stop analyzing someone's silence as if it were scripture. You stop begging for attention disguised as effort. You stop watering relationships that only grow when you do all the work. Because once you become emotionally stronger, you understand a simple truth. If something is meant for you, it won't require self-betrayal to maintain. The moment you realize this, relationships stop being battles and become mirrors. Mirrors that show you where you're growing, what you still fear, what you still chase, and what you still allow. The people you choose to keep close become reflections of your standards. Detachment raises those standards naturally. Suddenly, tolerance is no longer a form of love, it becomes a red flag. Emotional exhaustion is no longer normal, it becomes unacceptable. And this shift doesn't make your heart harder, it makes your heart safer. It teaches you to love without losing yourself. It teaches you to walk away without feeling guilty. It teaches you to trust your intuition when something no longer aligns with your peace. Detachment also removes the illusion of control. You finally understand that no matter how much you love someone, you cannot control how they show up, how they feel, or how they behave. You cannot control if they stay or go. You cannot control their wounds, their fears, or their emotional limits. And when you stop trying to control what was never yours to manage, a tremendous amount of emotional energy returns to you. That energy becomes clarity. That clarity becomes freedom. And that freedom becomes strength. With time, something beautiful happens. Your happiness stops depending on someone else's effort. Your stability stops depending on someone else's behavior. Your identity stops changing every time someone enters or leaves your life. Your relationships become complements to your life, not centers of it. You begin to understand that spaces you were crawling into were never meant for you. You begin to recognize when your presence is undervalued. You begin to trust the discomfort that tells you, this connection does not honor who you are becoming. And instead of clinging, you let go. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Not out of indifference, but out of self-protection. Not out of pride, but out of growth. Healthy detachment turns endings into redirections, not tragedies. It turns silence into information, not punishment. It turns distance into clarity, not abandonment. Most importantly, it turns you back into the center of your own emotional life. Because emotional strength is not about holding on tighter. It's about knowing when holding on is costing you more than letting go. It's about walking away without collapsing. It's about choosing yourself without apology. It's about embracing the truth that peace is not something you find. It's something you create by refusing to stay where your soul feels suffocated. This is the heart of detachment. Loving without losing your identity. Giving without giving away your power. Staying without sacrificing your peace. Leaving without losing your dignity. And when you master this, you become someone no emotional storm can break. One of the hardest lessons in emotional maturity is learning to accept reality without rewriting it to fit what you wish it were. Most people don't suffer because of what happened. They suffer because they refuse to let what happened be what it is. They replay conversations, rewrite scenes in their minds, search for hidden meanings, and cling to possibilities that no longer exist. Acceptance becomes impossible because denial feels safer. Hope becomes a hiding place. And the refusal to face the truth slowly becomes a form of self-harm. Acceptance is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is not giving up. Acceptance is emotional courage. It is the moment you stop negotiating with reality and start moving with it. When you accept what is, you stop drowning in what will never be. You stop waiting for someone to change. You stop trying to find explanations in silence. You stop giving meaning to actions that already told you everything you needed to know. Emotional pain intensifies when you fight against facts, and fades when you finally let facts stand on their own. Many people think the heart breaks when they lose someone. But the truth is different. The heart breaks when it realizes the story it wrote in its mind doesn't match the reality it's facing. You didn't suffer because the connection ended. You suffered because you imagined a future the other person never intended to build. Acceptance is the moment those two worlds meet. The imagined one dissolves and the real one becomes visible. And although that moment hurts, it is also the beginning of healing. When you accept reality, you reclaim one of your greatest emotional powers: clarity. And clarity is what sets you free from illusions that were quietly draining your strength. Clarity makes you see that some people didn't leave, they simply stopped pretending. Clarity makes you understand that inconsistency is an answer. Clarity shows you that not every loss is a tragedy. Some losses are protection in disguise. But clarity only comes when you stop editing the truth. This is why acceptance is the foundation of emotional strength. Without it, you build your life on fantasies, potential, promises, or memories, instead of on what is real. Without acceptance, you stay in relationships long after the connection died. You justify behavior long after it crossed the line. You wait for closure that will never come. The refusal to accept reality freezes your growth. It keeps you stuck in cycles you know you should leave. Acceptance breaks the cycle. It opens the cage. It frees your emotional energy for what actually deserves it. Acceptance also requires humility. The humility to realize that life will not always match your plans. People will not always give what you hoped. Situations will not unfold the way you imagined. But this humility is liberating, because it removes the exhausting expectation that everything must fit your ideal version to be valuable. When you accept that not everything or everyone is meant to stay, you stop forcing relationships. You stop over-explaining. You stop shrinking yourself to keep someone comfortable. You stop believing that love must be earned through suffering. Acceptance gives you back the dignity that pleading and insistence quietly take away. But here's something most people overlook. Acceptance is not a single moment, it is a practice. Every time you feel the urge to rewrite the story, you practice acceptance. Every time you want to search for hidden reasons, you practice acceptance. Every time your mind tries to make someone's behavior mean something about your worth, you practice acceptance again. Slowly, the truth becomes easier to hold. And then something powerful happens. What once shattered you now teaches you. What once felt unbearable becomes understandable. What once controlled you loses its power. Acceptance transforms the way you see pain. You start realizing that rejection is not always a reflection of your value. Sometimes it is a reflection of someone else's limits. You understand that endings are part of the natural cycle of emotional life. You accept that closure does not always come from an external source. Sometimes closure has to be created within. You begin to see the past not as a threat, but as a chapter that shaped you, not one that defines you. This kind of acceptance does not numb your emotions, it makes them cleaner. You still feel sadness, but it no longer comes with confusion. You still feel loss, but it no longer becomes a collapse. You still feel disappointment, but it no longer becomes identity. The pain remains human, but it stops being destructive. Acceptance strengthens you because it realigns you with reality. And reality, even when it hurts, is stable. Illusions are not. Some people spend years chasing what is already gone. They wait for apologies that never arrive. They hold on to memories as if those memories were an invitation to return. They check the past hoping it will rewrite itself. But emotional strength teaches you that the past does not need to change for you to move forward. You need to change your relationship with it. Acceptance is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new one. It is the moment you stop wasting emotional energy on what cannot be saved. It is the moment you pull your heart back from places where it no longer belongs. It is the moment you finally say, "This is what happened, and now I choose my next step." When you reach this point, peace stops being something you chase, it becomes something you naturally create. Your mind grows quieter. Your emotions become steadier. Your decisions come from wisdom instead of desperation. You learn how to see the world as it is, without demanding that it fit your expectations to feel safe. This is emotional strength on its highest level. Meeting reality without fear. Letting go without losing yourself. Honoring the truth even when it hurts. And trusting that honesty with yourself will always take you further than denial ever could. Acceptance doesn't weaken you. It frees you. It clears the path. It prepares your heart for everything that comes next. Once acceptance settles inside you, even if gently, something begins to shift. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. But it's there, a quiet sense that you cannot go back to the person you were before. You survived what should have broken you. You faced truths you once avoided. You stood alone in moments when you thought you needed someone to hold you up. And now, without even noticing, you're ready for the part of the journey most people never reach. Rebuilding yourself from the inside out. Rebuilding is not about becoming stronger in a cold, hardened way. It's not about pretending you've healed just to prove something. Real rebuilding is gentle. It's deliberate. It's the slow but steady process of choosing yourself after years of giving away your emotional power. It's reclaiming pieces of yourself that you abandoned to keep someone else comfortable. It's rediscovering your own voice after silencing it to avoid conflict or rejection. The truth is, pain doesn't erase who you are, it hides you from yourself. Every disappointment adds another layer of self-doubt. Every rejection pushes you a little further away from your own identity. Every toxic connection convinces you to shrink, adjust, or bend until you barely recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. Rebuilding means peeling back those layers. Not all at once, but piece by piece, revelation by revelation. And the first step in rebuilding is reclaiming your self-perception. You stop asking what others think of you. You stop believing that your value fluctuates based on who stays or who leaves. Instead, you begin to define yourself from the inside. From your principles, your growth, your resilience, your character. Emotional strength is not born when someone validates you. It is born when you validate yourself. As you rebuild, you start to see that the things you once tolerated were not signs of love, but signs of empty places within you. You understand that settling wasn't loyalty, it was fear. You realize that your pattern of trying to fix others was a way of avoiding the work you needed to do on your own heart. These realizations sting at first, but they liberate you. They give you back the responsibility for your emotional life, and with responsibility comes power. Rebuilding also requires boundaries. Not walls, but gates. Walls keep everyone out, even the ones who want to care. Gates open only for those who show respect, effort, and consistency. Before, you let people enter your emotional world without earning the right to be there. Anyone could come in, rearrange everything, and leave chaos behind. Now, rebuilding yourself means choosing who has access. You stop giving unlimited emotional credit to those who haven't proven they're worthy of your presence. You stop offering explanations to people who aren't listening. You stop fighting for relationships where you are the only one fighting. This is where rebuilding starts turning into transformation. You begin honoring your emotional capacity. You become aware of what drains you and what replenishes you. You recognize when someone only shows up when it's convenient. You identify patterns that once blinded you. You no longer romanticize inconsistency. You no longer allow potential to outweigh reality. You no longer tolerate disrespect and call it misunderstanding. And slowly, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel safe in your own presence. This is the foundation of emotional strength, becoming someone you can rely on. You stop searching for safety in others because you finally know how to create it for yourself. You no longer fear solitude because solitude becomes the place where you recharge, reorganize, regain clarity. You realize that being alone is not punishment, it's preparation. As you rebuild, your self-respect grows. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that shapes your decisions. Self-respect changes who you allow near. It changes what you chase. It changes how you respond to hurt. It changes how you treat yourself in moments no one sees. You start saying no without guilt. You start saying yes without fear. You no longer abandon your needs to keep the peace. You no longer apologize for wanting emotional stability. Rebuilding also means letting go of the version of yourself that survived survival mode. That version wasn't weak, it was protective. It did what it had to do. But now you no longer need to function through fear, insecurity, or desperation. You are ready to operate from strength, clarity, and intentionality. The self that was formed through pain doesn't need to be the same self that guides your future. And here's the beautiful truth. Rebuilding is not becoming someone new. Rebuilding is returning to who you were before the world dimmed your light. It's rediscovering the confidence you lost. It's reclaiming the softness you buried. It's reconnecting to the dreams you abandoned. It's remembering the version of you who was brave long before you were hurt. Rebuilding yourself does not erase the past, but it reframes it. Everything you went through becomes material, not definition. Experience, not identity. Strength, not scar tissue. This new consciousness becomes your emotional armor. Not something that closes you off, but something that protects the softness that makes you human. And when you reach this place, the world feels different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. The same situations no longer shake you. The same comments no longer cut you. The same manipulations no longer work. The same endings no longer destroy you. You are no longer a version of yourself built on survival. You are a version built on awareness. This is the essence of emotional strength. To rebuild with intention. To reclaim what pain tried to steal. To meet yourself again, and recognize your worth this time. Reaching this final stage doesn't mean all your wounds have disappeared or that every doubt has been silenced. It means something far more meaningful. You've crossed an internal boundary you once thought you'd never reach. You're no longer shaped by the unpredictability of other people's emotions. You're no longer holding your breath waiting for someone to choose you. You're becoming someone who can stand calmly inside themselves, even when life feels uncertain. Emotional strength doesn't show up as perfection. It shows up as stability, and that stability begins to guide every part of your life. As you look back, You might barely recognize the version of yourself who once interpreted every delay, every silence, and every shift in tone as a measure of personal worth. That person lived with a constant sense of emotional tension, always trying to decode the meaning behind every gesture. But now, something fundamental has changed. You still feel deeply, but your emotions no longer control the direction of your life. You've learned to give your feelings room without letting them take over. You process instead of panic. You pause instead of explode. You reflect instead of collapse. Life hasn't stopped challenging you. People still act inconsistently. Plans still fall apart. Uncertainty still arrives uninvited. But your response has transformed. You've developed the ability to let moments unfold without assuming they define you. You no longer use fear as your compass. You no longer chase clarity from people who communicate through confusion. You no longer abandon your needs to maintain connections that do not honor your growth. Instead, you take time to understand what you want, not what you hope someone else will eventually offer. This kind of strength grows quietly. It shows up in small decisions. When you choose rest over overthinking, when you walk away from conversations that drain you, when you stop reopening doors that life has clearly closed. You begin to sense the difference between what nurtures you and what simply distracts you. And the more attuned you become to your inner world, the more naturally you protect it. Your sense of worth also begins to shift. It no longer fluctuates based on external approval. You stop trying to earn love through effort, patience, or self-sacrifice. You stop measuring your value by whether someone stays or recognizes your effort. Instead, you start defining yourself from the inside, from your standards, your resilience, your boundaries, your integrity. You begin to value how well you treat yourself, even in private moments when no one is watching. This awareness naturally reshapes your relationships. Not because you become distant, but because you become clear. You recognize inconsistency for what it is. You see half-effort without trying to reinterpret it. You stop negotiating your value. You no longer build emotional bridges to people who only show up when it benefits them. You begin choosing connections based on alignment, not loneliness. On reciprocity, not intensity. On truth, not potential. And something else happens. Something subtle but powerful. You stop seeking closure from people who couldn't give clarity even when they were present. You stop replaying explanations you'll never receive. You stop mistaking someone's absence as a sign that you are unworthy. Instead, you read silence as information. You accept what people show you the first time. You move forward without dragging unfinished stories behind you. You create your own closure by refusing to stay where your spirit feels unwelcome. This new mindset changes the way you see the future. It no longer appears as a place where you must brace yourself for emotional collapse. Instead, it begins to feel open, spacious, and full of possibility. You're no longer defined by what happened to you. You're shaped by the person you became because of it. You trust your ability to rebuild. You trust your ability to walk away. You trust your ability to choose again, differently, wisely. Emotional strength isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about remaining centered even while you're healing. It's about having the courage to sit with your emotions without letting them distort your identity. It's about waking up each day with the quiet understanding that you are not powerless. You are not fragile. You are not dependent on someone else's attention to feel whole. Now you understand something you couldn't see before. The peace you were always searching for in other people has been waiting inside you. The stability you begged for from others is something you can now offer yourself. The emotional safety you thought only love could give is something you know how to create on your own. You are stepping into a new version of yourself. Not a harder version, not a colder version, but a steadier one. A version who respects their own boundaries. A version who knows when to stay and when to walk away. A version who no longer compromises their emotional well-being just to avoid loss. A version who understands that the right people add to your peace, not take from it. This is what true emotional strength looks like. A mind that is no longer held hostage by fear. A heart that knows it can survive disconnection. A spirit that trusts its own ability to rebuild. A life shaped by choice, not by reaction. And now that you've come this far, I want you to acknowledge the transformation you've created. Not just by listening, but by declaring it. Like this video to affirm your growth. Subscribe so you continue building this resilience with every new lesson. Comment below, "I choose my strength," or any phrase that marks the moment you decided to reclaim control of your emotional life. Your words are not just a comment. They are the beginning of the person you were always meant to become.